Yeah, so I guess I'm out here again, and it's raining, it's cold, windy, but I don't care. You know why? Because I like to use this thing called Stoicism, and that's something you hear a lot of people online talk about today, especially in the self improvement community. And not to sound generic or anything or cliche, but it's something that has really helped me to deal with everything that comes with life. All the pain, all the suffering, just you know, knowing your place as a human. And well, so what is Stoicism? And that's a good question, but what it is basically it's like a school of philosophy developed in ancient Greece. I think it's derived from the ancient Greek word for a painted porch, because one of the guys who originally taught it from like a painted porch somewhere in Athens, I think. And then uh, the most famous Stoic philosopher was Marcus Aurelius. One the last, he was one of the emperors of Rome around 100 AD, and he wrote this book. Well, actually, he wrote this journal where he just recorded all of his thoughts from day to day, kind of these affirmations, these messages to himself that he never really thought anyone else would read, but uh, someone ended up getting a hold of that journal where he had written everything, and they copied it, and then someone else copied it, and then people made copies of the copies, and then eventually the printing press came around, and people started publishing it, and that book, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, has become one of the most famous philosophy self improvement books out there. And uh, I read it relatively near to the start of my self improvement journey, and it's just helped me all the way. Like I said, and the real meat and potatoes of Stoicism philosophy is that you cannot control the uncontrollable. So to an extent, you just kind of have to take life as it is and recognize your place as a human being, like a social, rational human being that has higher abilities than an animal, and has you kind of got to recognize your duty in this world, right? With all these abilities that you've been given by God or the gods or whatever. So, what else is there to it? Well, uh, people often use Stoicism kind of like to deal with pain, right? Because this pain that you're going to experience in life is unavoidable. And a lot of people even go out of their way to experience pain to make themselves stronger, right? That's what Nietzsche said. What does not kill you makes you stronger, right? That's a pretty stoic statement right there. And what I remember Marcus Aurelius saying is that you have your place as a human being, right? And you can exercise only a certain amount of control over your environment, and that you have your place in nature, the logos. That's the way of nature, kind of like the Tao in Eastern philosophy, but the Western version of that is the logos, kind of like the driving force and the order of nature. And if the logos requires you to do something, if the logos requires you to be cold, if it requires you to be wet, if it requires you to be miserable, if it requires you to be in constant pain, then you just gotta take it. And what's so empowering about that is that the entire force of nature wants you to be suffering what you're currently undergoing, right? And only to a certain extent can you soften the blow of that suffering using external forces, right? Like taking painkillers, for example. But there's still a downside to that, trying to avoid pain, right? Because if I take a painkiller, I might get addicted to it. Or if I take any kind of drug to avoid pain, I might get addicted to that. Or if I put off doing a really hard homework assignment because of the mental strain it puts on me, then I'm just going to have to deal with it later down the road. So what Stoicism says is just do the work right now. Because that's what nature requires you to do. That's what God requires you to do. Right? And what more noble of a thing is there for you to do rather than just serve your nature? Serve the God that made you, right? Yeah. So that's basically what Stoicism is. I recommend that you read the book, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. There's been a lot of books based off of that, like a lot of books written about Stoicism that are more modern. But the original book, Meditations, right? It's been translated dozens of times throughout history, right? You got translation in Old English, a translation in, like, I don't know, friggin' 18th century English, 19th century English, and then you're going to want to read a more modern version of it, though, so you can actually understand what it's saying, right? Just in, like, simple, plain, modern text. Yeah, so just be careful of that when you're picking out an edition to read for it. Famous people who use Stoicism include, Theodore Roosevelt. I think he took, like, the Meditations book along with him for, like, his river cruise that was really famous. Many generals have used it throughout time. I think Napoleon did at one point. Many political leaders, many presidents, leaders of countries, leaders of people. Ryan Holiday from the Daily Stoic, he built his entire career off of talking about Stoicism, I think. I mean, I haven't seen or read a lot of his content, so I can't be entirely sure. But yeah, there's that. And I use Stoicism every single day. Right? I tell myself that I have to go through these things because it's just what nature requires of me. It's what God requires of me. It's what I was made to do. So I have to go through with it. And maybe I'll even enjoy doing these painful things along the way. Just for, like, the inherent joy that they bring me, or because it's just what I have to do, right? Yeah. So I think I've rambled on for long enough. I'll see you tomorrow, or anytime I decide to upload another one of these videos, which you can count on me to stand in front of this camera and upload my thoughts to YouTube about, I don't know, once, twice a week at the least. Yeah, so I'll see you.